News Weekly. Welcome to Batman News Weekly. This is episode 129, and man, we just saw the Batman. I feel like I fucked up that intro, but who cares, ladies and gentlemen? We just saw the Batman, and we're gonna review it. Now, this is going to be the warning at the start of this podcast, because I have no idea if I'm uploading this tomorrow, which would be Wednesday, but I just want to make it very clear, this is going to be spoiler-filled. We are going to be talking about every aspect of the movie that we want to talk about, and we're also going to be covering comics that we read this week just to have a kind of a normal podcast, because this will be this week's podcast. We're not going to do double. This is the full podcast. But I do want to preface this before we dive into it. If you have not seen the movie, do not listen to this podcast. Put it in your favorites, put it on listen to later, whatever the hell your app has that has the option for. Do not listen to this episode until you've seen the podcast, because just as a creator
until you see the movie.
Yes. Clay corrected me there, but I just want to do. We definitely don't want to skew your opinion, positive or negative. We don't want to do that. We want you to experience it. If you ever followed my content before, I've always said, fuck reviewers, fuck reviews, fuck critics, judge it for yourself. So this is your final warning. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review. I would go watch the movie, then listen to us right after. You have all of next week, everything, blah, 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 blah. But that is your final warning. We're about to dive into the Batman. And just by starting off with this, I gotta praise Clay at the start of this, because Clay decided to go ahead and buy 4 seats for this. I thought maybe his wife was gonna come along, or he had some friends coming along. He was like, "No, I bought buffer seats because of COVID." And I was like, "Sweet, awesome, that is dope." Well, I was hoping that maybe there was 5 seats where we bought 4 of them, and I was like, "Oh, maybe this person won't show up. Maybe I'll get really lucky, like on a plane." And so me and Clay had spaces in between ourselves and other people. But no, right when the movie was about to start, this other guy showed up, and I was like, and I jumped right next to the next seat.
Out loud, you were
I
like,
was like,
buffer seat.
I don't give a shit, man. If people don't understand at this point why you would want a buffer seat, that's just on you. And to be fair, that guy, I wouldn't have been comfortable in that seat, by the way. He was a bigger gentleman, and he was kind of spilling into my seat. And I was like, bro. And then he was doing the and I was just like, I kept my mask on that whole time unless I was getting something to drink. But shout out to Clay for thinking ahead and getting a buffer seat, because at least it gave me a comfortable experience, which is, with anxiety nowadays, I'm glad I had. So thank you, Clay. I appreciate that. But now, Clay, what were your initial thoughts on the movie?
Oh man, initial thoughts. On the drive, I was like, at least I could say, and this kind of gives a tease to what we think about the movie, or at least what I think about the movie. I was like, maybe I could say it looked good, which some parts did, but man, I have to admit, there's like, I don't know what Reeves' like obsession with like the blurry camera.
Yeah,
it happened a lot in this movie. So
yeah.
I will say there was certain shots where I was like, this looks good. Like it felt like at moments there were scenes where I was like, this would look great in like a Batman suspense movie, you know?
Yeah.
So there was moments like that. But overall, I wouldn't call it a snooze fest.
Mm-hmm.
But the one complaint that I heard everybody say, the movie's too damn long.
It was way too long, dude. Like, and dude, we got to say this right at the start, because I feel like maybe we have a reputation of being like, oh, they just always shit on things. And, I know you brought that up like a podcast or 2 ago, that somebody called you out saying that you just hate everything. And we're very transparent here. We'll tell you what we like, what we hate, and we're not going to sugarcoat anything just to get people to like us. But dude, we were getting drinks, and somebody thought we were about to spoil the movie for them while we were getting drinks. They're like, can you guys not? I was all like, bro, chill. I was like, we're covering this for a podcast. We haven't even seen the reviews. And he was like, well, I heard it's a really good movie. I was like, dude, I haven't even heard that. Like, why are you telling me this after you tried to get mad at us? Like, what the fuck? But I was telling Clay, I was like, dude, the biggest thing I heard is it's really long. My main thing is I don't ever want there to be at a point in this movie where I'm like starting to critique the movie. And I was just like, if I'm entertained all the way through, that is going to be the best thing. But if I ever have a thought where I'm like, how much longer do we have?
Oh,
That is
fuck,
a
dude.
problem. That is a problem. And I told Clay while we were getting our drinks, I was like, yeah, dude, I don't care about long movies as long as I'm not questioning how much longer is to go. And holy shit, I did that so much. Would you say the car chase scene is about an hour and a half into the movie?
I think so. I think
like
that
midway.
is probably midway.
Yeah.
And I will say there were so many moments in this movie. I made the joke right before we jumped onto this. I was like, man, Matt Reeves made a Superman movie. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment with the fucking Batmobile. I was like, Ghost Rider? What the fuck?
Yeah.
So like there's parts of this movie that I was just like trying to hype myself up and
Same, dude.
I was like, okay, we got to get excited for this. This seems like an important moment. Let's see what the fuck happens. It's just like it dragged and it dragged and it dragged.
I was waiting. So I have to make this statement here just in case you're new to the podcast. If this is the first time you're listening, we don't want to give you a bad experience like, oh yeah, all we do is shit on stuff. No, we love Batman. We enjoy him as a character. But if you are new to this, you've never heard me talk about Batman before, I judge movies in general really harshly. And the reason why is I went to film school in high school, and literally our job every single day was to watch movies and critique them. And you had to point out the negative shit. So movies are ruined for me. Like I have to think about them in a critical way, and it's one of the reasons why I love Fast and the Furious, because my brain turns off. Like it just turns off, and I'm like, awesome. Very rarely can I do that. I know they're bad movies, people. Like it's like just in a cinematic way, but they're stupid. And I'm like, all right, yes. Yeah. So I'm able to turn my brain off for some movies, but I was trying so hard. I was like, don't think about it critically, Juice. Just come on, just try to pick something. And when it got to the car chase scene, I was just like, okay, maybe from here on out, it's going to get really exciting. And then the car chase scene happened. I was just like, I literally went over to Clay and I was like, this movie's fucking boring.
Yeah. And very unfortunate. I told, because a friend of mine is on the East Coast, so he was an hour ahead of us, so he's already seen it. And so we were going back and forth, and I said, the worst part about this was I was expecting a better Batman movie.
Yes, 100%. Also, I have to ask this to you, like, because I want to get into the nitty gritty of it, like the production aspect, because now that you're doing audio stuff, were you judging it on audio too?
Because I was.
The fight scenes felt so weak.
And that is something I was I was, finishing up reading comics before we started this, but I went ahead and I started to run through the the embargo reviews from yesterday. And one of the very first ones that I saw was, it lacks in its combat, but it, is able to you can oversee it by, the amazing mystery story that Matt Reeves is telling. And there was moments in this movie where I was like, oh shit, that is something like fucking Arkham Knight would do. That's fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like there are moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the very unfortunate thing, and I know this is going to be a critique from some people, every badass moment of this movie in the trailers.
Yes, 100%. No, I don't think anybody can argue that. They're in the first two trailers.
Yeah, there was nothing Because like I get it, story elements, that's
Mhm.
what you want to hide, that's what
Yeah.
you want, like the mystery, you cannot show the mystery.
Mhm.
But there was not a single fight scene that I was really hoping. I was like, okay, I saw that in the trailer, I saw
Yeah.
that in the trailer, like give me something that I haven't seen in the trailer. And there
Yeah.
was none. There was
Yeah.
none, absolutely none. But as far as the audio goes,
Mhm.
there were moments where it needed to be quiet. I
Yeah.
appreciated it. There was moments where it needed to kind of be loud. There was like in the club, Iceberg
Yeah, yeah,
Lounge.
yeah.
There's moments in there. There was some artistic choices. Now, the one thing that bothered me, and I
Mhm.
understand completely why, but the Riddler voice.
Oh. Ah, where is
The,
she?
well,
That's
there it was like this elongated type of
yeah.
talk. It was almost like the Bane.
Mhm.
It wasn't the Batman Bale voice. It was the Tom Hardy Bane voice.
Yeah, I got okay. That's a
But
better comparison.
it was a little straining, a little bit more straining. Now, there's a moment in this movie where like he's talking to his followers and he's all like,
Mhm.
"Hi guys." I'm like,
Yeah,
that
he's
is
like doing a YouTube video. He's on fucking TikTok. Hey guys.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, that doesn't make any sense for this character.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand that you like, oh, these are my followers, so I'm going to be a little bit more personal. But those followers are following you because of how psychotic and crazy that you are
Yeah.
in the way that you perform.
Yeah.
So why would you immediately change like that? So like
Yeah.
that didn't like that artistic choice. Um, but I will say there was a really nice moment. Um, for me, every single time the grappling hook shot,
Yeah.
like just the clink of it, the
Mhm.
just amount of like air puffing out for the actual pressure of the hook
Yeah.
leaving, I really enjoyed that.
Bat tech
um
was good in this movie.
bat
I will say the bat tech was cool.
the only bat tech that is questionable for me was the glider. um
Oh yeah, yeah. That was
it was a
I did you see me
mattress.
like roll my eyes or just be like, "What?" Like
Y- y-
we both we'll talk about the one scene where we both looked at each other and essentially we were like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But me and Clay at the end, there's this moment when Selena saves Batman and dude, she
the
gets
cam
hit.
the camera. So I again, artistically, I understand
Yes.
what they're trying to convey. There's
Yes.
moments in this movie where Reeves really is just staying on a certain character or on
Mhm.
a scene for the viewer to like just focus in, right?
Yeah.
They were on Selena for way too damn long in that
A
scene.
lot of scenes actually,
And
in my
she was
opinion.
in that one scene, she was just staring at Bruce or Batman,
Yeah.
and like behind her was all blurry. So I was like, something's gonna fucking happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
is she gonna fucking like her brain's gonna fucking blow out the back of her
Yeah.
head? Like, is she gonna get shot? What's gonna happen? And all of a sudden, she dramatically, dude, like just like goes towards the camera because she gets hit from the back of the head.
Yeah, dude.
We fucking lost it. Like,
Me and
I
Clay looked at each other and just started laughing, dude. We were like, "What?" Because, dude, this is what I want to see somebody do. I want to see somebody put the clunk noise to it in post when everybody gets the movie. I want to hear a clunk on that. And at the very end of this movie, I want the Fast and the Furious song
oh,
splitting them
you
in.
called it, so you called it,
I
dude.
told you. I told you, dude. I look over when at the end of this movie, we're gonna be jumping around all over the place, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We just want to get those stuff that made us laugh out of the way. But at the end of this movie, they're like, "Why didn't you stay with me? I gotta stay with Gotham." And she's like, "Oh, I might go to Bloodhaven." Blah blah.
There's a I will say in that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
he looks at the bat signal
Yeah.
and she says, "Oh, well, it's clear that you're already taken."
Yes.
That
Fix
is
that.
something that we really enjoy when it comes to like Batman.
Yes. He did a lot
He
of good
treats
Batman stuff.
yeah, he treats Batman like his lover. Like that was one thing that
Mm-hmm.
we I think it was in the either the villain anniversary or another I think it was a Lee Bermejo
Yeah.
story.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I get what you
and
mean. Yeah.
and Bruce was narrating through that story and
Mhm.
basically talking as though like Gotham was a lover.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that line. I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome."
Yeah. There was some deep cuts in this movie for sure.
Yes, yes,
So if you are a Batman fan, you'll definitely see a lot of deep cuts, which I thought was really cool. But as I was to get back to the stupid thing I was saying was after like this speech between Catwoman and Batman, they're gonna go their separate ways at the end. And they're like driving together, like down the. You might have saw these leaked photos a long time ago in the cemetery. They're driving down, and then they get to this area, and I lean over to Clay. I was like, they're gonna do the Fast and the Furious thing right now, and they both like look at each other and they split off and go separate ways. I was like, I knew it. So now I need somebody to take that at the end of the movie and put that stupid ass Fast and the Furious song when freaking Paul Walker and Vin Diesel split off, because that's exactly what I thought of.
Oh
Um,
shit!
but yeah, dude, there was I wanted to love this movie. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, y'all are just haters. Dude, I went into the Joker thinking I was gonna hate it.
Yeah,
I thought I was gonna hate that movie, and it won me over. So I will tell you that I am somebody that I want to be proven wrong. Me, a Batman fan, wanna love this movie. I wanted to, and I was like, it's gonna get better. There's gonna be this scene we haven't seen yet that I'm gonna be like, oh fuck. And it never came. It never came for
and
me.
there's this moment where, well, not specifically, but the whole detective mystery story that Reeves was telling throughout the
Mhm.
entire thing, right? I want a detective story,
Yeah.
but if I have to sacrifice 3 to 4 hours for that mystery story,
Yeah.
fuck, dude.
Let me ask you this, Clay. What detective stuff did he really do? Besides being like solving a riddle here or there?
It was Alfred.
Yeah. He didn't want, by the way, Alfred was not needed in this movie.
No.
Pointless.
So
Fucking pointless.
as soon as that scene happened, there's a scene, guys, where
Eh,
we'll get to we'll
yeah.
get to another part of that. But there is a scene where Bruce Wayne is going to be another victim of the Riddler.
Yeah.
But it's Alfred who finds the message, present, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then you see the explosion. You don't see him. You just see the explosion. And then you actually see that, oh, this was actually taking place an hour ago.
Yeah. I didn't mind that.
And Alfred is in the hospital. Didn't mind that at all. It's like it's a fun little twist. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So as soon as I saw Alfred in the hospital bed, I said, why should I care?
Exactly. And I wanted to ask you this question. Is this a problem for not, and I don't think it is, but is this a problem because we didn't have these characters introduced to us and knowing why you should care about them?
See, and here's
Because we know why you should.
yes. As Alfred to Pattinson's Batman slash
Yeah.
Bruce, I know why he is important.
Yeah.
But for this reiteration of the characters, I was not attached to Alfred whatsoever for me to be
Yeah.
like, oh no, Alfred, he might
Yeah.
be dead. Like there was nothing for me to be like, okay, you know.
Yeah. We maybe saw him 2 or 3 times before that. Like
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely at least 2.
Mhm.
But yeah, there was really like one, you didn't even fucking need the cave, it felt like. It felt like they barely did anything in the cave, which was so
Yeah.
weird. And yeah, let's just before we dive into so much more, one, there's 2 things I want to say. 3 things actually. But Kravitz and Pattinson, I don't think they have chemistry. I didn't buy anything that was happening with them, to be honest. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't think they had chemistry. And maybe it's because I don't think Pattinson is a good Batman.
I feel like he could, if he did a little bit more work, he could be a good Batman.
Yeah.
Because
maybe he's not a good Bruce. Maybe he's not a good Batman is a little stretch, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's a good Bruce. I think his
No.
Bruce sucked.
And we see some people talking in Discord. We had to kind of shut it down a little bit because I saw that like they were kind of getting really close to like spoiler
Yeah.
territory. But they were talking about how like, oh, this Bruce felt weird and everything, and they were selling us on that. They were like,
Yeah.
hey, this Bruce is not the Bruce that you all know and love. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's gonna come out in the second movie. Have you seen where the fucking second movie is gonna be now? I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna see any Playboy philanthropist. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to see that Bruce. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
we're just not. But I think that Pattinson was a good detective, quote unquote,
Mhm.
because he had all the answers, and
Okay.
that's really the only reason why.
Mhm.
Because everybody was like, "What does this riddle mean?" And Pattinson was just there to give the answer.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a moment of like him solving anything. It was just he knew the answer.
And I think that's probably why it doesn't give the sense of him trying to do it. Because there's moments, I guess, when you could really dissect it if you want. Like at the very end, when he goes back to Riddler's place to try to find the big thing that's about to happen. Um, but he does that because Riddler gives him a hint. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were." I was like, "Okay, that's kind of cool." I like that when Batman isn't fucking 100% OP. I like when he gets one up
Yeah.
and he's put in a dire situation. Um, but dude, I wasn't buying a lot of it, dude. Like, I just didn't like his Batman. There was some dialogue between him and Selina that I didn't like, especially when he was guiding her through the whole club, and he was like, "What are you doing? No!" Like, I was like, maybe a little bit more anger there would have been better as Batman, but he was like, "No,
Yeah.
don't do that." I was just like, I don't know,
Well,
man.
there was moments in the very beginning when they met. They're like, "Oh, she seemed very sad when I was
Yeah,
watching you at your
yeah.
apartment." And he said it just like that. I was like, "What the fuck
Yeah, I
are you doing,
didn't
man?"
buy a lot of it, dude. It was just really kind of weird. And there, dude, I really want to go back and watch Nolan's trilogy now to see how they handled little slights of comedy. Because there was some things that like were supposed to be jokes in this that I'm like,
Well,
the thumb
our
drive. Hated
our
it.
audience loved it. The
Yeah.
people that were sitting with us, they laughed at everything that I thought should be a laughable
Yeah.
moment. So in the very very beginning, when like it was in the first trailer when Bruce Batman is in
Mhm.
that room with the mayor or
Yeah.
whatever, one of the detectives is like moving around and like Batman is in his way. And he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, excuse me,"
Yeah.
and Bruce just stands there.
Yeah.
He's like very stone cold, and people laughed at that.
Yeah.
Then there was a moment where with the thumb drive and everything
Yeah.
else, and Gordon was like, "Oh, this guy's hysterical." Our
Yeah.
audience laughed again. Like, and then of course Penguin,
Yeah.
"Oh, you guys are a freaking, symphony over here. You're gonna
Oh yeah.
match,
Uh
harmonize and
yeah.
everything." And
Good cop and bad cop or bat shit cop or some shit
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Like that
batshit
was
cop.
okay. I didn't mind that
Yeah,
one. That
yeah.
was fine. But there was just some jokes that I was just like, yeah, didn't really care for it. But I understood it. I'm not gonna like everything about the movie. It's not gonna be perfect. But yeah, dude, there was just I was waiting the whole movie. I was like, give me that one moment that I know I'm gonna enjoy, and I felt like I never got it.
Okay,
Like,
so there's one moment though that
mm,
I've been wanting your opinion on since we got out of the movie
uh
because I felt the energy coming off of you when it happened.
yeah,
So there's a reveal in this movie
uh huh,
where Bruce or Batman and Catwoman are basically yelling at each other because they're trying to figure out, shit that's going down with Falcone,
yeah,
and she finally lets it out
yeah,
because he's my father.
yeah.
How do you feel?
It depending on what you've read, it's canon.
Yeah.
So I believe that's all the Long Halloween story, which we got a super mega collector's edition of it, y'all, in our theater. Gonna be worth bajillions of dollars later. Just saying. Um, but that's canon. So if you want to go down that route, they've actually changed who her father is multiple times.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer that not being part of Catwoman's thing. And I don't think Tom King plays into that at all. I don't think Tom King likes that either, so he doesn't use it. But I've never been a big fan of it because it just means like, she's a big crime boss. But I don't mind it here. Like, I didn't have a problem with that. But going back to what you were saying about Alfred, why should I fucking care?
Yeah.
You know? That's it. And that was one of those things where, like, you didn't give me enough Falcone to care. You had this one moment, one interaction between them where it kind of makes it seem like she's a hooker and he's had some business with her, but then she's all like, he's my father. And I'm like, okay.
But see, here's another thing. We complained about it because we've seen it in video games and comics and everything else, and we thought they were going to do it here.
Yeah.
And then they got cold feet. Bruce and the Waynes being bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of gave it to us and then kind of took it away or tried to take it away.
They gave it to us in the sense of like, oh, this is what Riddler believes, and so he's going to put it out there to fit his narrative. And then Falcone tells the story, how, of course, he felt that it went. And then when Bruce goes to Alfred, pissed off about everything, Alfred's like, oh, no, this is how it went.
Yeah.
And boom, Thomas Wayne is now a good guy again.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of goes down to he knew. I mean, that's that's going to be debated, right? I think it's going to be debated because I think that goes down to optics, right? It goes down to optics because Thomas Wayne knew who Falcone was, right? It's shown in the movie or said in the movie that Thomas Wayne saved Falcone's life at one point because Falcone wasn't going to go to the hospital. He went to the Waynes, and Bruce Wayne saw his father save Falcone's life on his table. Like, he was like, all right, whatever. So he saw that. He was like, oh, yeah, I know you, kid, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of says, he was like, oh, you don't think your father was, in on some stuff? And so Falcone is planting those seeds to be like, your father wasn't a great guy, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then what ends up happening is, we get the truth and everything later with Falcone. And yeah, Alfred is just like, no, your dad made a mistake. And he went to Falcone because he was trying to protect you and your mom. He didn't care about his reputation, but he went to Falcone. He wasn't expecting it to go that far. Me, in a real life situation, the only equation that I would think that it would be okay is if I called the police and the police resulted in killing somebody that I wanted to get checked up on, right? Like, I read a story recently where somebody called to have a wellness check on some random individual. A wellness check, for anybody that doesn't live in America or doesn't know what that is, it's where you call the police to go check up on somebody that may or may not harm themselves. That's kind of what a wellness check is, to make sure they're still alive.
Yeah.
And this wellness check had police go over to this person's house, and they ended up killing them. So, like, So it sucks if, like, let's just say you have a sister or something along those lines, and you're like, hey, my sister needs a wellness check. Can you go check up on her? The police go over there and end up killing her. Like, are you responsible for her death? No, I think it's the cops that are responsible for her death. But some people would be like, why'd you call the cops? Because there are people that hate cops. So they'd be like, why the fuck did you call the cops? They would kill anybody. Like, what the fuck? So I think it's going to be something like that. But the cops, you think, are supposed to be good people and do right by it, right? A mob boss does what's right by the mob.
Yeah.
So, I would be like, I don't know, man. You still went to a bad guy for help. You know what I mean? It's not like he was your brother. So I would still say Thomas Wayne is bad. Did he make a mistake? Sure. Can you come back from your mistakes? Sure. But, he can. He's dead. But you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I see it. And I think that's going to be a debated topic. So they tried to make the Waynes good again, but the Riddler didn't think so. The Riddler thought the damage was done. He didn't give a shit. So
we kind of fell into the trap of Riddler knowing the true identity.
Yes.
We did fall into that trap. Because it very much makes you think that he does know, to the point of saying his name in front of Batman.
Yeah. Over and over.
Batman getting so nervous that he's looking at the fucking camera.
Yeah.
In Arkham. And then he's like, Bruce was the only one that survived.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, whew.
Yeah.
Like you just see
I'm
it,
telling you.
you see it in his face. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a close one.
Yeah. I like that though. You know
But
what? We have no problem admitting we're wrong here. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad
So
they swerved us there.
they
But
did swerve us.
we did call out the Thomas Wayne bad story shit because everybody was like, no, they're gonna swerve us. I'm like, no, it was fucking plain as day right there. The
Yeah,
only thing they swerved us on was him knowing who Bruce Wayne was.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
And they tried to make us believe that. But dude, yeah, just going through this movie, man, I'm just like, again, there was nothing exciting that I didn't see in the trailers.
Hmm.
The fighting just felt lackluster, man. Like, dude, when I left this theater, I could not believe this. I was like, I can't believe I'm about to do this podcast and praise Zack Snyder. Like, because holy shit, Zack Snyder still reigns supreme on giving me a badass Batman that I want. And that's insane. And that's just for that moment in BVS. It's BVS. I don't consider Justice League being anything that I really want because I don't even think in his version Batman did anything great in his version, in my opinion. But in
Yeah, there was
BVS,
always that like there was rumors of like, oh, there's gonna be an even more badass scene in the
yeah,
warehouse, and there wasn't. So
and that was what was kind of weird with this Batman scene because I think a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, well that stadium scene, bro, that stadium scene was amazing. I'm like, no, it wasn't. In my opinion, it was cool, but it wasn't
the only
amazing.
thing that made it quote unquote cool was the fact that he ate like 16 different bullets.
Yeah.
And by the way, his cowl fucking killed somebody. Like
Where?
straight up ding. They shot his cowl and it
Mm.
ricocheted and hit somebody right in the face.
Ooh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Which that'll be for the people that are like, "Oh, see, Batman kills." I would argue that that's just part of the casualty of fighting. Like, he didn't physically kill that person. The cowl is there to save his life, right?
Yeah.
You can't, the explosions and stuff. Like, if he would have been like, oh, like if he was holding on to somebody and let them go and they fell to their death, that's him killing.
I legit at one point thought that he fucking
I thought he
threw
did that
somebody.
too.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh
I
fuck.
was like, ah. But I love how they were like, okay, Batman's gonna be kicking the shit out of all these guys up here. Let's, for some reason, have them all hook themselves up to lines so they can
Mhm.
actually fall off and not die. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you're doing something. You know what I mean? Okay, so he doesn't kill. I applaud that, but it's still very
But
obvious.
so there's one moment where like right when Selena gets, the shit
Yeah,
knocked out of her,
pumped.
that this Riddler imposter
Yeah,
is going to
I like that.
basically
By the way, I thought that was
the
cool.
yeah,
The
the
imposters.
imposters were pretty cool.
Yeah.
The fact that like she was like about to die or whatever, and Bruce was like, "Oh, what do I do?" I leaned over when this happened to Juice, and I was like, "Oh my god, they brought Venom."
Oh my god, yes.
Now, guys, chill the fuck
Oh,
out. I know it's adrenaline, but he
yes.
takes out this vial
It
in
didn't need
his
to be
like
green though.
pocket.
It
It
didn't need to
was
be
like
green.
neon fucking
Yeah,
green, dude. It was Venom, and he just shoots it into his fucking wrist,
yeah,
and you just see him shoot up, and he's like yelling. He's like, "Oh!" And he
yeah,
punches the shit out of this dude over and over and over again. This is the moment where you see Selena like, "Oh fuck, what the fuck's wrong with
yeah,
this dude?" And I love how everybody gets him off of this dude, and they
yeah,
take the time to pan the camera back at the dude so you can see him breathing.
yeah, yeah. And they made sure to have him talk, even in case you didn't see it. They were like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, say something like I'm vengeance." And I was like, "Is did we build all of this just so this guy could say I'm vengeance?" Like, you know what I mean? I was hoping he was gonna say I'm Riddler because what would have been cool is if he would have said he's Riddler and another guy would have said he's Riddler and they all said he was Riddler, then we don't know who really did it, right?
Yeah, we don't know
That would have been the
if
riddle.
we don't know if Edward Nashton is the real Riddler.
Yeah. Which I think would have been really cool because then they could have all admitted to doing it, right? Like, we all did it. We're all Edward Nash or we're all so and so and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I thought they were going to go that route. But to be fair, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, Juice, during Gotham days, you said if there's multiple Jokers, that it freaking it makes the character worse. I know some people are going to be out there like that. This movie is doing whatever the fuck it wants. It's
Yes.
not going to be following a bunch of other bullshit. So if you want to do this Riddler crap, then do it. Make the Riddler a bunch of different people. It could still
Mhm.
be one guy, but he makes everybody else believe he's the Riddler.
Yeah.
And that's part of the riddle, right? But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was still kind of cool to see a bunch of them. I don't think the Riddler is nowhere near Heath Ledger's Joker. If people are gonna be like,
No.
"Oh my god, he was so fucking great," no, I
Oh
thought he
no, there
sucked.
was one review that said that Paul Dano rivals Heath Ledger's
Fuck
Joker.
no,
No.
fuck no.
No.
I don't, dude. Like Matt I mean, in Nolan's videos told us, I believe in Harvey Dent. I came into this movie wanting to be, I believe in Matt Reeves. I don't believe in Matt Reeves anymore. I don't. I don't really care about the rest of this universe now. I do. When I left this theater, I was like, I'm so excited for Batgirl because that's going to be like
Yeah.
Batman comic booky. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
excited for Batgirl.
So speaking of comic booky and the realistic take on this, let's go ahead and go to the one moment where
Oh,
literally I didn't see anybody else do this. Me and Jews lifted our hands in the
yeah. We're like,
fucking air. We're like,
I,
what the fuck just happened?
so movie theaters have cameras, right? Like to see the crowd to make sure they're not doing anything naughty, right? I would love to see the camera of us because we're literally the only two people that did that. Like we're on a fucking roller coaster or something. Like somebody's gonna be like, what are those guys doing? Like,
Dude, so the grounded take on Batman, okay? So
yeah,
we see Skarsgård, the
yeah,
guy that everybody was like, "Oh, it's fucking Two-Face."
yeah,
Um, he gets captured. He is the DA. He gets
hmm,
captured, and he has this bomb on his neck, fucking Wild Wild West style,
yeah,
and he has to answer these riddles in order to get the bomb disarmed or
yeah,
off or whatever. And Batman is there. This is where we get the justice riddle that was
hmm,
all over freaking trailers. Um, and the last riddle basically is, hey, you have to sell out the rat, because that was the big mystery of this
yeah,
entire movie. There
hmm,
was a rat in the underground of the criminal, underground of Gotham,
yeah,
and people were getting killed over this. That's what
hmm,
every killing was about, was this rat. So Riddler wants him to sell out this rat, and Pattinson Batman is like, just say your price, and just say the name,
yeah,
and he gets fucking face to face to
yeah.
this
They
this
could kiss.
DA
Like that's how
basically.
close they are. Yeah,
And he's like, okay, well, if you're gonna die, tell me everything that you know, so that way we can finally find him. And he's like, I can't.
yeah.
This fucking bomb goes off.
Hmm.
The
Batman is
bomb,
holding him
the
by the neck
bomb,
around it.
the bomb is literally mouth level. So the only open area of Batman is where this
Hmm.
bomb is. Blows up, and Batman just flies back
Yeah.
unharmed.
No, not even cuts on his mouth.
No cuts, no burns, no nothing.
Cal's still really good intact, and that shit was leather. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, we saw it inflate once he actually took it off. It's like it's barely anything.
yeah,
But
yeah,
this Batman fucking ate a bomb.
yeah. This must be Batman from Steel that we've been reading. So he has to be Kryptonian, at least half of it, because even in that book they show him get through some crazy stuff that he
Oh
survived.
shit, dude.
Yeah, grounded my fucking ass. Like,
Oh,
what the
I
hell?
don't think Superman would work in this
Which
story or
you
in this
notice, I didn't see
universe.
a Superman or a Wonder Woman
I
in the
didn't.
Halloween scene, so they took him out.
They took him
So
out. I think the whole thing was like, for Halloween, the very first few minutes of the movie takes place on Halloween night,
yeah,
which I will say, one thing that I was very disappointed in, that I got
mhm,
excited about in the very beginning, Pattinson's Bruce Wayne was narrating this
yeah,
and then stopped narrating like 30 minutes in.
yeah, yeah.
And
He should
then,
have did it by like every day, right? Like November
yes.
21st. Like, yeah, he should have done that.
And then he did the narration again when the movie ended. And
Yeah,
I'm like, what was everything? Like, you should have him talking everything out.
yeah.
There was nothing in between.
Yeah. And that would have added to the detective stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what was a lot of the deep cuts. And that's what, like, at the start, they hit you with deep cut, deep cut, deep cut. And I was just all like, okay, or maybe this is going to be something that is going to blow my mind, because they had Batman writing in his journal every day. They
Yep.
had him going through footage because he had these like camera lenses in his eyes that were like contacts or whatever. So that was very far out there, not grounded, which, I was like, okay, but technology is very easy to believe in movies.
Hmm.
Like that's,
Hmm.
more than a freeze gun type thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So he has this technology that he's able to do. He's writing everything down. And he even says, like, I can't remember everything, so I have to try. And he's like writing all this shit down. That's super comic booky Batman. I like that the way that they explain the Batcave in this, where it's an underground tunnel for the Waynes because they built a huge skyscraper that is the Wayne Tower that he lives in now. And
Yeah.
I think they said they gave up the Wayne Manor for the orphanage. I think that's
Yes.
what they said.
Yes.
So,
For those of you who want to read the novelization, the prequel to this movie, it explains all of that,
oh,
apparently.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I might get it. I'm not entirely sure. I might wait for a digital version
Yeah,
to
maybe.
go on sale or something. But one thing that I did like in the beginning when he was narrating,
Mhm.
he was talking about how like the shadows like
Yeah,
help
that was
him.
good. And that's why I was like, "Oh, okay."
Like there is this moment where like there's this dude that robs this convenience store, and then
Yeah.
he runs off into the street and he sees the bat symbol, like the signal, and
Yeah.
then he just looks into a dark alley.
Yeah.
Batman's not even there, but he's afraid that he might be in there.
That was
And,
really good.
and he's like, oh shit. And the same thing happens to these people that are like tagging this building.
Yeah.
The freaking spray paint goes into a dark alley or a dark part of the building, and the
Yeah.
dude is just paralyzed. He's like, oh fuck. It's like Batman is the fucking boogeyman.
Yeah.
Like that shit was dope.
Yeah.
And then like there was a few moments in this movie where Batman just walked out of the shadows and
Yeah.
it looked really nice.
Mhm.
But like there after that, he would just like be in a room full of people
Yeah.
and there wasn't any like gawking or anything. It was just like, oh yeah, he's normal. But then in the middle of all that, they'd be like, man, Gordon, like what the fuck is this dude doing here?
Yeah, it was
Like
really weird.
there
Yeah.
it wasn't matching for
Yeah.
the energy that they were kind of pushing off into the what happened ended up happening. None of it was really matching for me.
Yeah. I I don't understand why they focused on fucking Tim Drake so much at the start of this. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah,
those of you
yeah,
that don't understand that, he's Tim Drake in Titans, the guy that was in this movie. Like they were like really focusing on him. Like, and I understood it. Like that's what they showed in the trailers. But I thought maybe he'd show up later, maybe like doing something good. Like you
yeah,
could have had him at the very end helping people. Like, oh yeah, man, after that night, like you changed my life. Like,
yeah,
but there was really like, why are you focusing on him so much? I didn't understand it.
yeah.
But yeah, they did nothing with him. Again, Alfred worthless in this movie. There was no point in having Alfred just so he could tell the truth to Bruce.
Yeah.
And that was all the only reason he was there. There was another old lady that was there. She could have done something. But yeah, man, my biggest thing was, dude, I was here, man. You know me. I'm all about that. Bruce and Selina tension. I want it. I'm all about it in every comic book. Didn't feel anything this whole time between Batcat.
I'm sorry. She says it. She says it. She says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, Batcat sound. I like the
Got a
ring
ring
of
to
it."
it. Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah.
Like you can't you just can't say it. And that's another thing.
You have to have
Batman
somebody else say it. That's what you
Batman
have to do.
is not said in this entire fucking movie.
Yeah, I noticed that. He doesn't nobody calls him she doesn't call him Batman. Nobody else really calls him Batman from my understanding, but they know
You
him as the Batman.
you know him as the Batman because of the writing that the Riddler is leaving on the letters or whatever.
Yeah.
It says for the Batman,
Yeah.
but nobody says it.
And it's really weird because his name has been established as the Batman because you see the newspapers like who is the Batman.
Yeah.
So it's weird that they don't call him the Batman. And everybody's just like, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" Or like, and yeah, I did pick up on that. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe they did and we just didn't hear it or we didn't catch it. Because every time he goes to the door, he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And they're just like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum were there, the
Yeah.
twins,
Yeah.
which is totally that. But yeah, man, there was a bunch of deep cuts. If you are a Batman fan, that you'll be like, oh, that was cool. I noticed that. This was that. Clay fucking called it. Did you do this on a stream? On an
Yes, I
episode
did.
though?
I'm pretty sure I said it here.
Uh-huh.
I said it on my other DC podcast. But I called it to the fucking T, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
To
just like,
the
wow.
T. So there's at the very end, freaking everything is starting to be semi-normal. There's the fucking Gotham is destroyed,
Yeah.
flooded, whatever. And Riddler's fucking just like, he's not having it. He's like, fuck, I lost. This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. He's yelling and everything. And then you see the silhouette in the very next cell next to him, and he starts talking. And there was no tone change to that actor. I knew
Nope.
immediately who it was, which I don't like that at all.
No.
But it was the fucking Joker.
This is funny because this is not what I was talking about that you called.
Oh shit.
I'm talking about the No Man's Land thing.
Oh, well, yeah, that too.
I don't think you said. I don't know if you said that on the podcast though. I know you told me that, but I don't know if you said it in the
Oh,
podcast.
I did.
Or not.
No, I did. I did. Because
Okay.
there was a question that was like, oh, what do you guys have any predictions for the Flash?
Deer, yeah,
And I thought he was talking about the Batman. I was like, oh yeah, No Man's Land is probably going to happen.
yeah.
But yeah, so No Man's
Essentially it
Land,
does.
No Man's Land basically happens, and I think it's like freaking the second movie is going to be No Man's Land. Like,
you want to know what's crazy, dude? Is like one. Let's talk about the Joker, and I'll go back to this. Yeah, I want to say publicly on this podcast, I think we were wrong about the Joker. I mean, we knew that he was going to be there, but I don't think anybody's going to talk about this because he fucking sucked.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't care. It sounded his laugh is. I literally looked at Clay and I was like, that laugh's terrible.
I told a friend.
Paul Dano's laugh was better.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah. I told a friend earlier tonight after we watched the movie. Let's see if there he goes. I said, I'm not even excited for the Joker because I've already been on record saying that I don't want a Joker in this trilogy.
Yeah. I'm not excited for this next movie. I'm not excited for this show. Like, that's how boring I thought this was.
Yeah, like they are building an entire like
universe,
Batman universe on HBO Max for this. And oh boy.
I literally walked out of this movie being like, thank you, James Gunn, man. Thank you for giving me comic book shit that I absolutely love. Because now I'm more excited about the DCEU than whatever the fuck we're going to get from Matt Reeves. I will take, like, dude, that Flash movie, which could easily be fucking terrible, I'm excited for that. Because it's going to be comic booky. And I'm like, you know what? Give me that comic booky Michael Keaton. If they have a stunt double doing all his fucking fighting and whatever, and it just looks good, I'm going to be down. Because you know what? The Batmobile blew dick in this fucking movie. Fuck that Batmobile. Do not give a shit about it.
So they were trying to like build hype with the Batmobile when it first appeared. Like you heard it like growl basically.
Yeah.
And then everybody looked at it and it like started to rumble and it rumbled a little bit more and like you could see the flames in the engine and then like it just like bursted into blue light and everybody's like, oh my God, get the fucking money, let's go. And I was just like, okay, like there was nothing exciting for me in that chase scene because again, the badass scene that was shown was already shown in the trailers.
Yeah, it was totally shown. I got stuck in traffic just like the Penguin did on the way home in that movie. Yeah, Batmobile fucking blew dick. Did not care for it at all. Dude, yeah. What was I saying that I was like,
No Man's Land.
No Man's Land. Yes, that was in Gotham. Totally don't care about it, and that's something I think you end a series on. You want to know something that I did think that I will applaud for this movie? I genuinely thought, and it sucks because this is another reason why it sucks about covering this kind of stuff. We know there's going to be a second movie. We already know that kind of stuff. But I genuinely thought Batman could die in this movie at one point. I was like, oh, what if they kill him? That'd be kind of cool. Like, just thought, like, because he was fucking, this is what I was going to say, actually. They fucking blew their load in this movie. Like, blowing up the city, doing all of this shit, using 3-4 different villains. Like, they blew their load in this first movie, dude. And I was just like, blowing up the city, that's a second, third movie type of thing. No, we're going to blow our load in the first movie. And I was like, bro, like, that's Flash being Flashpoint on his first movie. Like, it makes no sense.
The sequel is going to be No Man's Land, and the third one is actually going to be a prequel. It's going to be year one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's going to be so weird. Because, like, I don't know. So you're just going to have a bunch of people rise up. And again, if they're doing the Joker, is he not the Joker right now? Or is he the Joker? Because are we going to get that? Is it going to be just some crazy guy in a cell? Because how does Paul Dano not know who the Joker is if that is already the Joker?
Yeah, when you was the riddle me this, when you have less, it has more value, which is technically a Joker card.
Yeah.
But freaking Riddler was like, friends, and they both laughed about it.
And he was like, yeah, you could do your comeback story. I was like, I don't want Riddler in another movie.
Yeah, no.
Like, you know? Yeah, so is he not the Joker? Like, and dude, he sounded so shitty. One, like, the voice was bad, but, like, just his dialogue was terrible. Like,
yeah, it was not great.
Like,
do you know what this reminded me of?
What?
It reminded me of Batman Imposter.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And that's what I was telling you. I was hoping that the Batman Imposter was not going to be a glimpse of what we were going to get. And I didn't like that story. It's the same writer, too.
Co-writer.
Dude, like, yeah, co-writer. Yeah. This was, like, that Joker and the Riddler. Like, dude, I feel like you could just insert Titan's Scarecrow in here.
Fuck, don't do it.
Because he tried to be that, like, I'm crazy and maniacal, and not as bad. I know I'm over exaggerating here, but
do you think that kid is Dick Grayson?
Oh, I hope not. That'd be dumb. Like, why? Because his dad got killed by the Riddler, so he's gonna his mom's still there.
He's saved by Batman. Like, he's gonna be inspired, you know.
Maybe. I don't want to see a fucking Robin in this now.
No, and then, like, at the very end, Batman is giving this speech, right? He's like, oh, vengeance is not the way. These people need hope. And, like, I just think of freaking Man of Steel. He's like, oh, the symbol on my world means hope.
Yeah. And see, and this is where I need to dial back, because, again, we are not the general audience. We know too much about Batman and all this stuff. So, yes, and I know a lot of people are going to hark on this. They're going to be like, well, yeah, this is the first movie. He needs to grow. This is only the second year and blah, blah, blah. And I understand that. I totally get it. And I like that he's not going to keep going by vengeance because, you know, it's a Batman movie. He should say, I'm Batman. That's what he should say. Even though it can be cheesy and comic booky-ish, I think you just say that. It's pretty cool. It's fun. But, yeah, I just don't, like... I understand all that, but I'm not excited for Pattinson, bro. I will say this, and I got to give this up to freaking, oh my God. Oh, shit. Dude that played Batman in the Nolan trilogy. Christian Bale. Dude, the way he transformed his body made him look like Batman, even though he's way thinner and not as bulky as Ben Affleck. But I did not buy Pattinson as a Batman, dude, when he was out of the suit. Because he looked like a scrawny emo kid. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people are making that joke, but he did. He looked pretty fucking thin, man. And, like, I was just like...
That suit he wore to the funeral scene looked like 3 sizes too big for him.
Yeah. And, like, my thing is... And I understand, like, people are going to be like, oh, well, you're just, you know, going to expectations. I'm like... Dude, I'm just trying to believe it. You know what I mean? And I understand we shouldn't be over here... perpetuating like male stereotypes and all that shit, because yes, it is a problem, but I'm just saying the truth. Like, from what I've seen in comic books and stuff like that, like, he just didn't seem, I don't know. He just seemed pretty scrawny and like I don't know if you thought this was weird. The one scene where he was pushing the desk, like they focused on his back for so long and he was like balding out his back like to make it look really wide. And
Yeah.
I was like, why are they? I was like, I just see your shoulder blades, bro. This is gross. Like, fucking push it back. Like,
So that scene is kind of in trailers, and
uh-huh.
so people are taking that and putting it next to Joaquin Phoenix whenever
Yeah.
he is like bowing his shoes when
Uh-huh.
he's still working as a clown
Yeah.
in Joker, and they're like, "Oh, dude, look, they're basically they're meant to be. Look how close they look in similarity. They're making it
What?
look just like Joaquin Phoenix.
That's
He's
weird.
in the movie. Fuck yeah!" And
Yeah.
I'm
No.
like, I for him being Bruce and being this recluse or whatever,
Hmm.
like I didn't really get that either.
No.
Because as soon as he walked out of that car, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, like everybody fucking knew him.
Hmm. Yeah, and like even and people are gonna be like, "Well, didn't you hear Falcone say like, oh wow, you're the only person that doesn't get out as much as me?" People are gonna hark on that. That just goes to show you that he doesn't get out much, and that's Clay literally just said it. Everybody knew who Bruce Wayne was. Like,
Yeah.
and granted, you can still say like, oh, he's the face of the city, so of course they know who he looks like. But hair and stuff changes people very easily. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I just don't buy Pattinson. I'm not excited to see this. Like again, when I left this theater, I was more excited for what's happening in the DCEU than whatever's to come after this because I don't care about the chemistry between him and Zoe Kravitz. I thought she was an okay Catwoman, but I didn't buy the like she's overly sexy could win somebody over with her seductiveness. I didn't believe that. And some people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't be focusing on that." I'm like, I mean, even the fighting when she was fighting him like was kind of boring.
Bruce was wanting to use that against the DA anyway. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she was like, "Hey, this is making me uncomfortable. He's going to come after me if I
Mhm.
look at him again." And he's like, "I need to see his face.
Yeah.
Look at him." Like
Yeah.
he wanted to use her for her body.
Yeah. And the
And
thing is, I didn't get that like sense of like he wants to let her do what she wants, but only can go so far. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Batman always does the right thing. And granted, I laughed when he slapped the gun out of her hand. He was like, "No," and her like fucking no, like you hit a bet like a dog to drop something, like just fucking super knocked it out of her hand. But I just didn't buy it,
Do
man.
you know what I didn't buy? I didn't
So
buy her transformation. So she goes from being this like badass to I'm gonna get what I want, and what I want is information about my friend to
mhm,
oh now I know my friend is dead. I'm gonna kill whoever the fuck did it.
yeah,
And then just because he says, oh well, if you do this, you can't come back from it. And like the light from her eyes is just like, you're so right, Batman.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't there was nothing there.
I was expecting a lot more between them, to be
Because
honest.
there's a moment where she fucking uses her foot and her legs to push this dude off this fucking building,
Mhm.
and she has this badass line. She's like, "Oh, don't worry," because he's like, "Oh, if you go down this road, you'll lose your life,"
Yeah.
and she's like, "It's all right. I have 9 more," and she kicks the dude off the fucking building.
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's fucking badass."
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get more of that and like see a transformation in like the next movie. But
Yeah.
like she's already like, oh, I'm gung ho for you. This is
Mhm.
amazing. Let's be Batcat. You know,
Yeah.
I
Let's go to
didn't.
Bloodhaven and steal some money from CEOs.
Yeah.
And you wanna know what I don't think this happened in the movie, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't use the line of, "Who are you under there?"
No,
Right?
they did. They
They
did.
did? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just don't remember that part. I think at that point, maybe I was already closing my eyes because I was trying to get comfortable. I was like, I could fall asleep during this movie.
There was one moment where like I closed my eyes for a little too long and I was like,
Mhm.
I could just sit like this.
Yeah, I was like, dude, if I fall asleep, like, will I wake up later? I was like, well, like when the movie ends, I'll be like, uh-huh, you know. So I didn't fall asleep, but I just didn't buy Bad Cat. I thought there was gonna be so much more. Um, Gordon was cool. I liked Gordon. He wasn't anything wacha, but I don't know, like I don't know if I can really say anything else, man. Like I can just say I was disappointed. I was
Yeah.
hoping I wanted to love this movie. And I know a lot of people I feel like are gonna be like, you just went into it with a negative mindset. I'm like, no, dude. I think when you wanna like something, you try to like it. Like
Yeah.
I was just waiting. Because again, Joker, I went into that thinking, I'm gonna hate this movie. I know I'm gonna hate this movie. And this is what didn't happen to me, Clay. And when I go watch movies nowadays, and everybody knows I don't like the MCU, like I just fucking hate it. But when I saw Endgame and fucking Cap is there with the fucking anvil, he's fucking Mjolnir or whatever, and then you hear everybody being like, on your left, Cap, and they're all there, and he's like, Avengers Assemble. I got goosebumps, and I was one of those people like, yeah, in the theater. And I was like, that's what I fucking love about superhero movies. Those kind of moments. That did not happen in this movie. And that's what
No.
I wanted. As a Batman fan, I want that warehouse scene. I want that amazing Batman type thing that he does. And I'm just like, that's fucking Batman. And dude, even when Selena pushed him off, that was the perfect moment for him to dive off and save that guy. But he just,
Yeah.
saved him really quickly. Like they didn't even let him fall for a little bit. He's like, no, got you. I got you. You ain't doing nothing. Which maybe that's the grounded thing. But this Batman can't fly, Clay. We saw it with that air bubble suit that he has, which is a glider, but it looked like a
Dude,
mattress. You could
it
sleep on this guy.
it looked like a fucking mattress. The
Yeah.
GoPro fucking camera angle, dude.
Yeah, it was
I
kind of
couldn't
weird.
I couldn't handle it. Like
Well, they had the
Pattinson,
MCO crash moment too, and I was just like, I rolled my eyes
yeah.
because you don't have to have him crash down the way they did. Like he was trying to get onto the bus. He could have landed on the bus and been okay. Like,
Yes.
this is
But
a movie.
they had it hit the bridge. He fell. He swung, hit the basically
Top of the
the
bridge.
top of the bridge. Then he fell on the bus, and then he kept rolling off of the bus onto the street. And then what I think what makes it so much funnier though is he's limping off into the fucking street, right?
Yeah.
And the very next scene is a close up on his face, and he's just like looking off into the distance
Yeah.
over by the
It's,
bat signal, and you see Gordon come up. He's like, "Oh, it's you
you could have pulled your punches.
yeah, you could have
Yeah.
pulled your punch or whatever." And I'm like, this dude is probably like fucking internally bleeding or something, and he's just like stone cold.
Yeah, you want to know what I had a problem with there was that in that scene, because in that scene prior to that, we know Gordon he's like, you need to get out of here. Like, you got to get out of here. Because this is right when he survived the close up kissing explosion.
Yeah,
And they don't take him to a hospital. They take him to the police station.
yeah,
Instead of taking this guy to the hospital, they're like, let's get him to a police station. And they have him in an interrogation room, like 100 cops around him. Like, bro, give him some room. COVID, come on. And like he's just there. And he wakes up, he's like, he's a wild animal. And they're like, whoa, chill, chill, chill. And then he's
that
like,
fucking chief of police. Like I can't even mimic his voice,
yeah,
dude.
his voice is
There was
crazy.
there was people in the theater laughing at his voice. I
Yeah.
heard them.
So
Oh shit.
he's all like, how do I know you're not the rat? And like, Batman's like egging on the police, and he's like, hey, get a hold of yourself, blah blah. And then they go to another private room. He's like, just give me a little bit of time with him. I'll get him to cooperate. And then Gordon's automatically like, you need to get out of here. And I'm like, why? Like, I understand that Batman's like, I know that guy. He works with so and so. But you could have built up that Gordon found something that the police are against Batman. You know what I mean? Not just one guy. Batman just stood up against a whole room of cops that were like 50.
Well, I think what they're trying to get at is I think they said it. They're like, oh, they're trying to blame the DA dying
Yeah.
on Batman.
Yeah. No, and that you could see the anger from the cops for that, right? Like that one guy that he blamed,
Yeah.
kind of saying he's like, your blood's on, the blood of that is on his hands. But like, I just didn't buy the danger, Batman being in danger there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if they would have set up like there are some Maroni's men or Falcone's men in the GCPD that want you dead. You
Yeah.
need to get out of here. like here are the keys, all this stuff. It just didn't. I didn't buy the stakes because then he like runs through there. He's pushing everybody. He shoots the grappling hook scene that we saw in the trailer where
Yep.
everybody's shooting at him. And then he gets to the top, and then he flies on his mattress out of there.
Do you like how on every fucking floor there's just like 300 cops
Yeah.
all ready to like fucking just yell at him for no reason? Like,
Yeah.
I can understand the group of cops that saw him punch Gordon,
Yeah.
but like everybody else in every fucking floor, like what the fuck is that all about?
Yeah, it didn't paint cops in a good light because, you know, everybody's always like, cops always just want to shoot stuff. This was literally what they did. Oh, we're shooting guys. Bam, 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 bam. Like they just started shooting shit. And I will tell you, we used to work at a place where people loved gossip and loved to know what was going on. But nothing ever happened that fast.
Yeah,
You were
no.
just like, huh? What? What's going on? Like Batman would have been gone out of our workplace before anybody understood anything that was going on. So like, yeah, it was just so weird, man. But I get it. It's playing up for the movie. But even then, man, like, you could have done smaller things. There was a lot of shit in here that did not need to be in this movie, I feel like. And I don't even think Riddler was that crazy. You want to know what I think Matt Reeves wanted this movie to be? He wanted it to be Batman with 7.
Oh no, that's
he
what
wanted.
that's
Exactly
what
he wanted.
that's what everybody expected it to be.
Yeah. It wasn't at all.
I
Not even
didn't
close.
I didn't feel that at all.
Like, shit. If you were wanting that, you might as well just got fucking Kevin Spacey, even though he's a shitty person. Bring him back in here. He would have been better than Paul Dano. I don't understand why everybody's like, oh, Paul Dano. I haven't seen his other movies, so is he great? Like, I've never seen him in anything else besides the
Girl Next Door.
Movie. Yeah, Girl Next Door. There you go. The only thing I know Paul Dano from. Only thing. And that's it.
That's the only thing that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
But there's like this other one where freaking Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe is like a dead body or whatever.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, Paul Dano is in that movie.
Swiss Army Man or whatever?
Yeah, that one.
That's Paul Dano?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And then he's in another movie with freaking Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, where Paul Dano plays the fucking psycho pedophile dude. Yeah.
I have to check out some more of his work because I just don't believe this. Like, I didn't think he was that great. And I'm going to be curious because I think we saw Drew talking about it. He says, I'm a drip head from what he thought. Let's see. Okay. Oh, we actually got some things in the spoiler chat right now because Drew, I said, my quote leaving the theater, and I told this to Clay, I don't know if I said it on the podcast. I said this movie wasn't worth risking COVID. So that was my takeaway from this. And he was like, are you a drip head? I don't know you well enough to know if you're joking or not. And I'm like, I'm not joking. I'm 100% serious. So we have Kid Stu saying, I feel like every single cinematic moment was shown in the trailers. I wish it blew me away, but it was just exactly what I expected. Detroit Drew says this. I thought the trailer showed too much, but I was wrong. I don't think they did anymore. Really? There's not one action scene that's not in the trailers.
Yeah.
There's not. Like, literally. Unless you saw, like, one trailer. But if you saw those first 2 trailers, go back through there. All the big scenes are literally in every trailer.
Yep.
And, well, hold on. Lie. That might be a lie. Was the Batcat trailer the 3rd trailer or the 2nd trailer? Because if you saw the Batcat one, I saw the first trailer and the Batcat trailer. So if you saw those 2 trailers, it showed everything.
If you saw all 3, it showed everything.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, we even said somebody pieced together the freaking car chase.
No, you've seen all 3 trailers.
Have I?
Yes. Because the first 2 are from Fandom.
Oh. I've seen everything then. Yeah, they showed everything. There is not one action scene in here. And I want somebody to show me that. Like, be like, no, this action scene. No, okay, that's a lie. Because we didn't see the dome scene. Okay, so correction. The dome scene was not in the trailers. Where?
Okay, so the big crash. So the big crash that he falls down from.
Oh,
where the cape was all flappy. Yeah. There's that. Okay. Then the gun where he, like, the smoke grenade and everything, he's fucking hitting all of that. The only thing that you didn't see is everybody shooting him from the dome.
Yeah, like him whipping around and kicking them, right? Because the Falcone scene is there, or it's the Falcone scene, right? Where the lights go out and he goes in there and they're all shooting him and
Yeah,
like
and
that's in the trailers.
that's in the
Um,
trailers. Yeah,
how did I mean? Drew must be talking about all the Riddler bullshit that some of it wasn't even that important. That's what I
the slowest,
the story shit.
the story
Like,
shit. Yeah,
yeah, but the action stuff was all in all the trailers. And you want to know what's crazy, Clay? Is there was rumors back when this movie was starting that Matt Reeves was told there needed to be more action. So that means we would have had less action if that's a true report.
fuck.
Yeah.
Well, no, because there was also like there was moments where see, I think that's kind of bullshit because
Hmm.
apparently like WB wanted to get involved in a lot of this stuff and Reeves says fine, then I'm going to leave and I'm not going to make
Yeah.
this movie,
Hmm.
and they called his bluff and so he was able to make the movie he wanted to make.
But he said that they also told him that their caveat was that it needs to be PG-13 though.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
did cave on one or two things though.
yeah.
Because the thing is, when I believe the needed to be more action wasn't in the script, so he had to rewrite the script to add more action. They weren't filming
Okay.
yet. They weren't filming. It was like, hey, can you
Yeah,
put in some more action when he was still writing? Which I mean, that's easy to do, right? Like you're like, okay,
yeah.
we got to do this, but I don't know, man. I don't really know if we already talked for an hour and 10 minutes on this. I don't know if there was anything else that we could really
Well,
add.
one thing, just adding on to the whole Joker thing, because you put it in the article, you shared the article with me. I had actually read
Mhm.
it already.
Oh
But
yeah,
Matt Reeves basically gave away the ending of the fucking movie in
yeah.
this quote
Hmm.
that came out earlier this week or earlier last week, whatever. Um, there was going to be two Joker scenes.
Yeah,
There was going to be the one that we saw, but then there was going to be one earlier when he first threw Riddler into Arkham,
yeah.
and you were going to see Joker. And it's just like,
I
I
don't get
get
it.
it. You want to do Joker. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. I don't need it. I don't want it.
How is he gonna make the joke? What is he gonna do with him? Like in this style of movie, what is he gonna do with Joker? He's gonna break out of Arkham? Like, I don't get it. Like, how are they gonna? What is this relationship that Joker is gonna have with Batman? Why is he obsessed with him? Like, is just because he's watching him on TV or something in Arkham? Like, why is he in Arkham? Because Arkham is supposed to be for the criminally insane. So is the Joker already the Joker?
I would have assumed that Batman put away Joker.
Yeah, in the first 2 years, right? Like that's what I would assume. See, the
Yeah.
thing is, if you're gonna do Joker, and you're gonna build him up, you should be doing the Red Hood gang right now. Like, do that. Don't fucking just make him come up here and do this. Like, I would love to see if you're gonna do the Joker and you're gonna force the Joker on me, make him like we get the first iteration of him in the first movie. In the second movie, we get the Red Hood gang shit, and in the third movie, he's the Joker. Like if you're gonna fucking force the Joker down my throat, do it
Yeah.
that way. That way
Yeah.
it is a 3 movie progression to him becoming the Joker. Unless you're just gonna have him be the Joker right at the start. Um, but yeah, dude, he just seemed really weird. It looked like he was pretty scarred. So they're gonna be going with one of those Jokers, like the very
Yeah.
scarred-ish looking. I thought it was Two Face for a little bit. I was like, is it gonna be Two Face
Yeah,
instead?
it looked
You
kind of
know?
like warbly or bubbly or whatever,
Yeah.
like near his like cheekbones and stuff. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah. And that's kind of like Gotham. Gotham
Well,
went with this ugly ass looking Joker at the very end, and he
oh
had like a fucked
yeah,
up, weird looking
fuck.
face. And I'm like, oh, I hope they're not going that route. But yeah, dude, I don't know if you have anything else to say. I feel like we've talked enough about it,
Yeah,
but I
we talked to everything.
I'm not excited for anything going forward. I wouldn't mind seeing Kravitz by herself without Batman and maybe like a heist movie.
Yeah.
Maybe bring in somebody else that she could maybe have some type of relationship with that's a little bit more interesting. That's coming from me, y'all. Me, who doesn't want Selena Kyle dating anybody else but Bruce Wayne Batman. I just didn't believe their chemistry, man. Like, and they definitely again, like you said, leaned on those scenes where they're like, all right, they're on top of each other. Like, all right, well, what the fuck? This ain't the Batmobile, so it's not that scene. So like, I just didn't. I don't know, man. Like, I think he could have done this so much differently. But the fight, I think the fighting was just so lackluster. And well, what I was meaning about this, and this is what I said at the start, and we're gonna jump over to comics here. And this is why I was saying, since you do audio stuff, I know this happens a lot in YouTube videos. But in YouTube videos, they often put a soundtrack under the video just to fill in the gaps of the boring parts of the video. So sometimes that music plays louder than the actual action in the game or whatever. And I
Yeah.
felt like that was happening in this movie. Because when he fights all those people on the bus stop area, like at the very start of the movie, when he's like, I'm vengeance, and he fights all those guys, like I heard the music more than the pow, 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 pow. Like,
Yes,
you know?
that was happening a whole lot there. It also happened in the moment uh, where they were questioning the dude with like when you hear Falcone basically kill Catwoman's friend.
Yeah.
There was the theme
Yeah.
basically going on through that, and I didn't like that either because I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm trying to listen to this
I
phone call. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I was like, has the music ever turned off during 3.5 hours? I felt like it was just a 3 hour track, like under the movie the whole time. And I was
Fuck.
just like, that's like, because I was trying to think, I was like, why is there music playing against every fight scene? And after this podcast, I'm gonna go watch the warehouse scene again. Because I'm like, maybe there was a lot of music there and I'm not clueless. But I remember hearing all the guns popping off in that one. I hear the thing slamming against the wall. Like the audio quality in that scene is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like, God, Matt Reeves, you're making me praise Zack Snyder coming out of this fucking Batman movie. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you, Matt Reeves. But yeah.
Oh,
Anyways, that's
shit.
it. That is us. I'm pretty sure people are gonna be like, you know what? If you have any anger issues, throw them in the comments of the YouTube video. If you have any problems with this, because we want to hear your opinions. And that's the thing. We just because we don't like it doesn't mean you can't like it. If you think this is the best Batman movie of all time, I'm glad you got to experience that because I wish I could have. Like, I want every movie that I watch to be great. I just didn't like this one. I'm sorry. And that
Yeah.
sucks because I'm a fucking lifelong Batman fan and I wanted this to be great. And knowing that Pattinson's the main Batman going forward, I'm like, ugh. And I feel like James Tynan's might as well be writing this scripts because I'm just like,
Fuck.
wow. I don't give a fuck anymore. But let's go over to Batman to see if it's getting good in the comics at least. So we have 4 books that we're going to be covering this week. We have Tom King's new Killing Time book, which is pretty interesting. I have some thoughts on it. We have Steel number 5, which is Dark Knights of Steel. Then we have Batman 121 and we have Detective. You know what? I say let's start with Detective.
Okay.
So you just read this. What did
Yes.
you think about
Well, the front story
it?
again,
Mhm.
doing the whole Shadow of the Bat, Arkham Tower story. I, oh man, Tamaki, what are you doing? Like, it's it's the same shit over. Like, the worst part
Everywhere.
is it's the same shit from the very first issue of the story. It's
Mhm.
just reiterated.
Yep. And,
Like,
we just get Scarecrow. Literally, that's all that happens.
the only thing that you see why Huntress was bleeding in the first issue.
Yeah.
For some reason, Mr. Freeze knows the identity of Huntress,
Yeah.
and then we get Scarecrow, and I'm just like,
That's the
God,
whole issue, guys.
I don't want Scarecrow again. I don't.
Yeah, we just had him. We literally just had him in this freaking comic book or in the series, right? Fear State, and you're already bringing him back. Like, yeah, I just don't care. And he's like, "This is fear." Blah, blah, blah.
And I don't like I don't like his outfit
Yeah,
from his new design or whatever that they
yeah.
gave him.
It only works when Jimenez draws him.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I think it looks good. Other than that, like the Arkham suit is the best.
Mhm.
I don't think you're ever gonna get better than an Arkham suit because he
No.
has the vials in his hands that are like claws. He has the mask that's Scarecrow-ish. He has the freaking fear gas running through those like pipes and stuff. But yeah, this is the anime costume does not work well in other when other people draw it. And yeah, that's essentially it. He's got fear canisters. But let's move on to the best thing about Detective for the last 10 weeks or whatever we've been reading this. And it is that backstory. Because holy shit, Rosenberg, you are the man. I'm not going to talk about Task Force X or whatever you're drawing over there. We don't talk about
Z.
that one, Z. But this back issue, and vampires too, are fucking fire, dude. This dude is killing it, Clay. I told Clay after I read this, I was like, dude, we got to get Rosenberg at some point on the podcast because, like, he's awesome.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And it's very, very funny that I read this immediately after watching the
Yeah.
Batman. Because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, No Man's Land. Cool.
Yep.
So of course this is the story of what everybody on the fucking internet has now dubbed the boy. That's
Yeah.
what they call him.
Because they don't know his name.
They call him the boy. And some people, I'm like, dude, the story is called House of Gotham. They're like, no, it's called The Boy.
Yeah.
But we now see that he is still recovering from Azrael's, injury that he
Hmm.
gave him on his spine. And it's been several years. Like it's not just like a couple months that he's been recovering. It's been
Yeah.
years that he's been recovering from this. And then all of a sudden, the facility that he's in is fucking like shaking and shit. The personal trainer that he has, the physical trainer that he has, fucking gets squashed
Yeah.
and dies. I'm like, oh fuck. And they're like, we just got to get out of here, save yourself, blah blah blah. And time passes. He's scavenging for food, but we learn that there's this dude named the Poet
Hmm.
that is like basically has scrounged up these survivors, and he is like dubbed him like the leader of this small group.
Yeah.
And he's apparently not a great guy because people are all talking shit about him and everything
Yeah.
else. And all of a sudden we find out that like their camp or whatever was bombarded by a monster, and they're not really sure what it was.
Yeah.
And it stole their food and supplies and shit. And the boy is like, oh well, let me figure this shit out. He goes all the way there, and it's fucking Killer Croc, dude.
Yeah.
And we've said this several times on this podcast. Whenever Killer Croc is a main focus of a story,
Hmm.
people just get him.
Yeah.
They just understand him.
Yeah.
And this I really enjoyed because out of fucking nowhere, the boy's like, all right, Waylon, like just give your shit up. He's like, wait a minute. You fucking know my name.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you? And he's like, oh shit, you're that kid from Arkham. Like,
Yeah.
I remember you. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, and the boy it basically says, like, hey, this is how this shit's gonna go down.
Yeah.
Either you kill all of us,
Hmm.
and the army of survivors that are still alive are gonna fucking hunt you down until the day you fucking die.
Yeah.
Or you work with us and we watch your back. This
Yeah.
giant army that we have. He's like, well, what's in it for me? He's like, oh, well, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You ask for a favor, I do it. I ask for
Hmm.
a favor, you do it. It's going to be a mutual thing here. And he's like, okay, fine. Deal's a deal.
Yeah.
Fucking goes off to Poet, and this dude's like, where the fuck is our food? You're not
Yeah.
bringing shit. What's wrong with you? He's like, oh, I made a deal. And he's like, oh, you made a deal. A deal without me. You leaving me out of the deal? Like, what the fuck's
Mhm.
wrong with you? He's like, oh, no, 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 Poet. You
Yeah.
were definitely a part of the deal. And then you just hear the growl. You see the
Yeah.
growl, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, dude. I just love that he's doing something I would have loved to do in comics and telling a story through other stories. And
Yes.
it's something I've said so many times on this podcast. And you can do that with characters that nobody knows about. You can write a story in 0 Year if you wanted to with a character nobody knows about. You can write a story during fucking the death of Superman if the character doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like you can do
Yeah.
these kind of things, and I love it. And this person or Rosenberg has decided to be like, I'm going to make a character that goes through the test of time that Batman has been through. And he's just going to be a bystander in all of the craziness. And I'm like, now, granted, if I really wanted to be nitpicky, I'm sure I could be like, oh, these timelines don't match up because blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna do that because I know timelines are in flux all the time when it comes to
Yeah.
comics. But I understand the storylines here, and I've read a majority of these stories, so I'm
Hmm.
really excited when I see this kind of stuff because, a la like the Batman, where Matt Reeves was giving us the deep cuts of Bruce, studying, Bruce doing this, Bruce doing that. Rosenberg's like, boom, boom, boom. You know all those classic stories that happened before fucking Rebirth? Here, boom, 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 boom. Or New 52, I should say. And it's just like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's killing it, man. And to see the progress of this kid is pretty cool because
Yeah.
this kid had his parents murdered by Joker, has still hated Batman through this whole time, but you can tell he's wanted to trust Batman, but he just can't. And
Yeah.
Batman just catches him at the worst times every single time. And he's just like, I don't trust anybody, but you're seeing him become a bigger and better person. And he didn't even want to leave the medical facility. He's like, I don't want to leave, man. I have nowhere to go. And he's like, hey, man, once you're good, you have to get out there and live your life. Like, we can't keep you here forever. He's like, I think you're awesome. I would love to have
Yeah,
you
he was
around.
like, if it's about money, like I could work for free.
Yeah,
We're like he was desperate to
yeah.
find a home here.
Yeah. And the guy was like, sorry, man, you got to get out of there. And that's when the earthquake happens. And then he pushes the kid out of the way. And that dude dies, like gets smashed by the bookshelf and shit, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, I have to say, like, I'm digging this story. And this better be a hardcover someday. Because this is already, 12 issues of it? I mean, 10 issues of it, it feels
Yeah,
like.
that's what I need to ask him before I
Yeah.
ask him to be on the podcast. I need to at least ask him if it's going to be its own separate graphic novel.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because this is definitely something I'd buy at this point. Like, it's just
Yeah.
a cool story, and I want to keep reading it. And it's literally the only reason why I read Detective recently. Detective shouldn't have been bi-weekly. I don't
No,
understand it. Like, it should have been. I mean, it should have been bi-weekly, not weekly.
weekly. Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, that's Rosenberg is carrying Detective right now, which we like Tamaki. It's just this isn't a great story. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like,
no, she has had better stories, for sure. I don't
yeah.
know why they decided to do this.
She's the one that gave us the Joker story, right? The one where Dan Mora did the drunk guy, right?
Yeah,
She's the one that gave us that. Yeah, that
yeah.
story is fucking phenomenal. So yeah, I don't know what's happening here. I wonder if this was kind of like forced on her. You think DC was like, "Hey, we need a big event."
Well, probably. Do you know what it was? It was, hey, Batman is moving to monthly, so you have to pick up the slack.
Yeah, it could be. So that would kind of suck, but it has happened to the best of the writers before, anyways. So yeah, there's that. Um, Batman 121. Do you think that is less talking points than Dark Knights of Steel? Should we go to 121 first?
Let's do 121.
Okay. Did you feel after reading this it was kind of blasé?
We were talking up Williamson so
Yeah,
much, and then I
yeah,
read this fucking issue,
yeah,
and I went, "What the fuck did I just read?"
yeah.
Oh man,
It was like,
it flopped so hard.
yeah, yeah,
And the worst part about this is like like we all know when stories are rushed, right? When
yeah.
like you're like, okay, you can kind of see where the story's going, and it's like, oh, we're already there. Fuck, like what happened? Like you can tell when they're rushing the story.
Hmm.
This was like, oh, by page 2, solved every problem. We're already fucking like the characters have already, done a double turn. It was all a part of the fucking plan. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
You want to know what I was confused about? Remember in the last issue, at least this was the way it was drawn. I'd have to go back and look at it. But didn't Abyss turn into Lex Luthor or vice versa? Like, that's the way it looked. Like, Luthor turned into Abyss or Abyss turned into Luthor because Batman was
I
like, how do
can
I see you or whatever.
I
Like,
can I can see the reason why, but they kind of explain it in this book.
okay.
The whole reason is basically they state, because in the very first pages we
Hmm.
go all the way back to when Batman Incorporated was first made,
Yeah.
and Luther is actually watching this broadcast, and he's like, oh, if Batman is going to make all of Batman around the world, Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to make the complete opposite all around the world. And he asks his assistant, hey, find me the deadliest freaking countries in the world,
Yeah.
starting with this random country.
Yeah.
And he essentially makes a opposite of Batman Inc. And
Yeah.
Abyss is a part of that.
Yeah. He's the first creation, essentially.
So what he did is he basically found Abyss and he's like, okay, now I know you're going to be a very bad person to work with, so I'm going to make counters to all
Yeah.
of your powers and all of this. So that's why Batman can see him, because Luthor had already planned for all of Abyss's shit.
Yeah.
So the technology that he was able to use actually in turn helped Batman.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it was. I was just like, wow, how did he turn into him? Like, it didn't make any sense.
But like at
Um,
one point Batman's like, "Oh, uh what does he say? He says code Club of Heroes."
yeah,
And then all of the fucking Batmen from Batman Incorporated fucking turn around and they're all fighting Abyss now. And I'm just like, what?
yeah. It was so weird.
So stupid.
I was like, what is happening? Like, it made no sense. And he was like, I had hopes for all of you. And Abyss starts fighting everybody. We get this flashback between Luthor and Abyss has Luthor there. Then the chick cop shoots Abyss and saves Luthor's life. And then we get this flashback of Batman like hearing things that he heard prior. And it's just like, oh yeah, you can't work for friends, don't shut us out, and all this stuff. So Batman's like reliving all these things he's heard, and it's just flashing back to like Alfred, Barbara, and he blind as a bat steals Luthor's tech, is able to incorporate it into his suit somehow, and then
And
goes
now he's
finds an
able to
Abyss.
see
Yeah,
because of that. Yeah.
and he finds Abyss. They fight in the fucking hyperbolic time chamber, and he beats Abyss. Like, and he's like, I can see you now, and he just fucks him up like no problem. He's like, now that
Yeah.
I can see you, you're fucking shit. You suck. Beats his ass, and it's it. That it.
No, and then he beats his ass, but Abyss gets away.
Yeah,
And then fucking Williamson did the worst thing ever that we always hate is he didn't it was
hmm,
tell don't show,
yeah,
and it was narration of Batman. He's like, oh, by the way, we found the family that he had taken hostage, and
yeah,
everybody's fine and dandy and everything's rainbows and sunshine now.
yeah,
And then he talks to the detective and he's all like, oh, she's like, oh, do you want to stay here? They could really use you right now. And he's like, no, they need you. I'll
yeah,
let you know when let me know when you're ready. I'm like, ah, shit. Gotta make
yeah,
another hero here. Like, that's one thing that I don't like about like this new age of DC.
yeah,
Like, just because they find like good cops or like good people on the street, they're like,
yeah.
you're superhero material. It's like
It's the CW. That's
I
literally what the CW does.
I hate it.
Everybody can be a hero in CW. Doesn't matter
I
who they fucking are.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's and then of course they're like, we're here to get Luthor and blah blah, and he's like, nothing will stick to Luthor. Like, he knew how to cover his tracks. That's why he's so good at getting away. Then they're like, how did you know we were not working for Abyss? And he's like, when we were fighting, y'all were pulling your punches. You're so much better than that. He was like, it was a sign. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that's a very Batman thing, but I already have a sour taste in my mouth at this point, and it's not just the warhead that I'm eating. But like, I thought it was kind of like weak. And then Batman is all like, they need me, and this is post detective now.
Well, yeah, it says after Arkham Tower. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So we can assume that Batman is gonna arrive in time to beat everybody at Detective, right? In
Yeah,
Detective, like, he's gonna
yeah.
save Nightwing and everybody. That's what I'm assuming what's gonna happen. And you just see Barbara being like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'm glad you're doing well." Blah 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 blah. And he calls Ghostmaker. Like, you fucking shitting me. And we see shitty ass clown killer man guy thingamabop in the background fighting just dummies. And we see this other girl, the detective, running around doing her own shit. And then we see, I don't think this guy is part of Batman Inc., but he's a villain, right? I don't remember.
Yeah, he's Prometheus is his
Yeah.
name.
So we see Prometheus, and he's all like, yo, Batman's back in Gotham or whatever. And he's like, oh, cool, we got to keep him distracted because we're preparing for war. And it's Deathstroke. So now we're going to go into the Deathstroke war or whatever the fuck it's going to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, like, this is what we warned everybody about with Williamson, right? Like, he can soar so high, but he can fall so fast.
He can crash so hard.
And this is exactly what happened here, man. Maybe it's good he's leaving Batman. Who knows? Especially if you're gonna finish arcs like that. Dude, it was so good up until then.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, holy shit. Yeah. Chip Zdarsky, dude, my Batman levels right now are very low, bro. You had the chance to make me super happy, Chip. So I hope your first arc is a banger, because this right now, 2022, and my hopes for Batman are not looking great. All right, not looking. I feel like Tynan just said he's coming back. Like, that's how I feel at the moment.
Oh shit.
So yeah, the Batman 121 snooze fest. Yeah, dude, like, that was fucking terrible. But let's go to Dark Knights of Steel, because I told Clay after I read this, I was like, Tom Taylor just won me back, because I didn't like the last issue because we got the reveal of Lex Luthor Joker, and I was just like, ugh. I was like, gross, don't care. I was already kind of on the downturn on this story. But he won me back. How do you feel about what happened in this issue?
I loved it. Now, I'm a little confused because I feel like it was sudden, but after sitting on it for a while, I'm like, oh fuck. Now, do you want to get to the reveal like immediately? We could kind of talk about it, or how do you feel like we should approach this?
No, let's start it from the beginning.
Okay.
Because the reveal, I feel, is like what we would talk about the most. So we see that Harley, no. We see, I should say, Zala.
Yeah.
Which, that's still so weird for me, Zala, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's just a weird name. She's like, you came home. And he's like, of course, I heard about Dad. And he's like, why didn't you come sooner? And she was like, I was searching for, the Green Man. He's like, why would you do that? Like, you can't do that by yourself. She's like, do you want me just to sit around? He deserves justice. And he's like, we'll get justice. We'll get justice. And this is a conversation between Clark and Supergirl, but Zala. And then we cut to Harley in the woods, and she's like, hello? And then she gets freaking taken by a poison ivy vine. And he's like, I recognize no queen. And she's all like, hey. And we just have this like loving conversation type of back and forth between Harley and Ivy.
Dude, Ivy is putting it on strong, dude.
Yeah, dude. Like, Ivy simps hard for Harley in this. And she's like, you can be here with me. And she's like, no, I got to protect my own people. And he's like, no harm will come to your people, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Ivy is just like in it. She was like, you're my girl. Nobody else can have you. Then we see Wonder Woman flying through the air. And she's like, someone's intruding. Should I take them out? And she's like, can I see first? And she's like, sure. And they fucking Jack and the Beanstalk it all the way up into the sky. And then Ivy just captures Wonder Woman and her Pegasus, no problem. And Wonder Woman's like, I'm an Amazon. I'll fucking fuck you up. And she's like, try it. And so like her and just Ivy are going at it. And Ivy gets the better of her, which, by the way, Ivy is one of the strongest Batman villains, if not one of the strongest villains on Earth. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy for those that don't know. But, she's holding her back. And literally Diana has Poison Ivy by the throat. And she was like, I can kill you. I'm an Amazonian. And she's all like, I could lay seeds in your eyes and fucking put beanstalks up your butt. Like, I can destroy you. Like, yeah, I'm not scared of you. And so Harley's just like, can we chill out? And can you tell me why you're here? And so, that's happening there. And then we see Zala and Superman show up. And they're like, what's going on here? And they're like, this is happening.
They're like, wait, how the fuck did you know we were here? And they're like, super hearing. Like, come on now.
Yeah, and then that's when, like, Diana's like, Zala, because we know they have a little romance going on. She's like, can we talk in private? And she's like, sure. And then she's all like, "This is what I'm hearing. Did you kill so and so?" And she's like, "Oh, me? Kill
Dude, I
somebody?"
was like, dude, I was like, what? Like
Yeah,
bold-faced lie. Dude,
yeah,
no emotion other than like how
yeah,
how could I do that? I
yeah.
was like, God damn.
And I love it because now I'm waiting for the moment that freaking Diana finds out the truth. And I'm just gonna be like, oh, will they fight? Is this gonna be like I'm gonna side with Zala or she's gonna fight for what's right? And I'm like, that's gonna be awesome. So I'm excited for
It's,
that.
yes, yes.
But yeah, I just love the way Zala was like, "What? Me? Kill somebody?" Um, and then we get a nice shot of like Robin, aka Dick Grayson, showing up when the Batman comes to town. And this is where it gets interesting because they're like, "Yo, where is Clark?" And he's like, "Oh, he was seen on the edge of town. Like, you should, he just went out to go check out something." He's like, "Oh, he shouldn't be leaving. Let's go check it out." And we know that Alfred put like metal around the kryptonite so it wouldn't hurt Bruce. And he's all like, "I'll go show him. I'll go tell him." So he ends up meeting him. He ends up meeting Clark on the edge of town or whatever. They're by themselves, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this, but this came from Krypton." He's like, "Well, how do you know?" And he's like, "Oh, well, this and that, blah blah blah." And he was like, "I need to tell you about our father."
Yeah,
And
he basically is like, I didn't want to tell you this, but like, well, I wanted to tell you sooner, but there wasn't really a good time, so
yeah,
I'll say it now. We need to talk about our father. You turn the fucking page, and oh
yeah,
fuck,
I was like, yes, like it was insane. It's almost a full page spread. It's about 3/4 page of Superman stabbing Bruce in the fucking guts with the dagger of kryptonite that he has. And Bruce is just like, "Cal," like, and then Superman ends up grabbing him by the neck. He's like, "This is our world now." Flies him up to the sky and then drops his ass.
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yes. Well, yeah,
And
he punches him down. He doesn't
yeah,
drop him.
yeah,
He
no,
punches him
he
down.
fucking just like is trying to kill him, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
why the fuck would he do this? What the fuck's going on? And then it fucking dawned on me. Oh fuck. Like this wasn't a like, hey, we are going to become king and queen because y'all are just like petty humans
Yeah.
and we're gonna teach you. No, this is, hey, we're superior and we're fucking ruling your planet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what this
So
fucking is.
I'm just like, nice. So it's funny because now Zala and Cal are the people that Black Lightning are scared of. Like that's what he was
Yes.
warning everybody about. But it was
Yeah.
never their parents; it was the kids. Well, granted, they were scared of the parents too, but it was the overall senses. This is what they could become, and they are becoming what everybody is scared of. So now this means Bruce is gonna go against Cal, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want. But at the end of this nice little twist here at the very end, we see these two simple farmers just going down the street, and they're like, "Hey, what's that over there?" And they're like, "It's the Batman." And they're like, "Should we help him?" And he's like, "He's still breathing." He's like, "Do we really want to do this? Like, you know what he does to people or whatever." And he's like, "No, we should definitely do something." And she's all like, "Let's take him." He's like, "This thing looks like it barely penetrated him, but let's get it out of him." So we see Pa Kent, that we find out, takes out the kryptonite out of Batman's chest. He's like, "Let's get him back to the kingdom." And freaking Bruce is like, "No, no kingdom." And then freaking Makan is just like, "Well, let's just take him with us back to the farm."
And Jonathan Kent is like, man, Martha, your hospitality is gonna be the death of us one day. And you just
Yeah,
see in the very last page is the splash page of them making their way to their farm.
yeah. And the next story is called The Kents.
Yeah.
So reverse origins here, which is
Hmm.
kind of cool. Um, yeah. So I'm excited. Dude, this is what I said. I was like, I want fucking betrayal. Where is the betrayal? Was not expecting it to come from Cal. So I
Yeah,
was just
no.
like, oh shit. So now I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Granted, I'm still somebody that's not a big fan of Superman Batman, but that allowed this to happen. So I'm like, okay, I'm over that already. That happened in issue 1 or whatever. So now I'm just excited to see what is going to happen going forward because I got my big betrayal. It seems like there's going to be another betrayal between Zala and Diana at some point. Will Diana end up killing her mom, maybe, and then find out the truth? That because we already know this is getting spin-offs, right? Didn't they announce that already? Or it's been hinted at that there's going to be spin-offs?
It's been hinted at, yeah.
Yeah, because he's didn't I think Taylor tweeted something or he was like,
Well,
"Oh,
actually, he announced that Deceased 3 is in the works already. Like he,
really?"
yeah, they have the logo for it.
Yeah.
It's Deceased, and the ED, the
Mhm.
last E on the word
Is it
is a
3?
3. Yeah,
What are they going to do? What is still there to
Dark
do?
Side.
Oh, wait, wasn't he dead?
Remember, he was freaking anti-lifed.
Yeah.
So and he crashed onto, I think it was New Genesis.
Huh. Interesting. Whatever happened to Black and White Beyond or whatever the fuck that story was by what's his face? Sean Murphy? Remember that? I think we've mentioned this before. Like what the fuck happened to that story? The Murphyverse.
Oh, for Batman Beyond?
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. Wasn't it gonna be a Batman Beyond, like White Knight Beyond, or some shit like that?
Oh, he is working on that also.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think there's like already solicits probably for like, or at least like a tease or something.
Yeah, I haven't heard shit from Sean Murphy, so I'm assuming they scrapped all the other Elseworld books of it,
Yeah, I think so.
like Gotham and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
That series sucked. Anyways, so that is yeah, Dark Knights of Steel, fire. But we're going on to the last book of this year, or of this week, I should say, and it is Batman Killing Time. This is the new Tom King Batman story. Oh, by the way, to clear up stuff last time, we were asking why Human Target was going to take so long. Drew in Discord said paternity leave. So I think the artist needs time off. So
Yeah.
I didn't read that in the article, or I didn't see that. So
Yeah,
I
no.
just want to clear that up because we were questioning it. But this is Tom King's other Batman story that has nothing to do with Batcat. This is way before all of that. This is when Selina is still a bad guy, all that kind of jazz. So, what did you think of this book? Because I originally read it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, you were super
Yeah.
quick to read this.
Yeah.
Um
But so I told you at the start of the movie today that I read it and I was all like, not as good as Batcat. And you were kind of hesitant to say something. So I don't know where you're going with that.
so for me, there's a lot of dialogue in here
Mhm.
that doesn't really feel like it's Tom King's usual dialogue.
I agree. And I was going to say, I feel like this might be the first Tom King book that I'm iffy on because it's only 6 issues. I
Yeah.
wonder if because him getting away from his formula, I'm just like, ooh, I don't know. It might be
So
rushed.
I think it might be rushed. The
Yeah.
really weird thing is like the go get 'em action packed promise that this book
Hmm.
is not Tom King's style.
No, no, he's a
So
slow
why
burn.
so why would he write this story?
I, as somebody who wants to be a writer and hopes to write for DC one day, I will say I try. I love the idea of trying to write in every genre. Like, I would love to write a
Yeah.
love story. I would love to write a horror story. I would love to write a drama. Like, that's just kind of how I view it because I like the challenge.
Yeah.
So, Tom King is critically acclaimed at this point. You know what I mean? He's working in Hollywood or he's writing for Hollywood. Maybe he wanted to try something different. And he's said this before because remember, before he started Batcat, Strange Adventure, and what was the other one? Rorschach, I think.
Yeah.
He was using that like 3-panel structure that was very different. He was like, I was getting away from my 9-panel structure that everybody was so used to. So he changes up his style. So maybe this is like the first book in his new wave of writing. So that could be. I just don't know if you should try a new thing in 6 issues, but maybe he wants to do smaller stories, so he has to do it in 6 issues. So,
Yeah.
um, and I don't know, like, would you also want to write another 12 issue story after writing Batcat? You know what I mean? Like,
True.
and don't forget he did 85 issues before Bad Cat every other week. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty different. But yes, overall, though, like I said, I don't think this was better than Bad Cat, but I was pretty interested in the way he was starting to tell the story. Like how they were getting a guard to be a part of this, this heist that they're doing, because it seems like everybody's working on a really big heist. So we have Killer
Hmm.
Croc's involved, Penguin's involved, Riddler's involved, and Selena Kyle's involved, and they're all doing some part of the heist. So Selena, we see, is doing tennis lessons with the wife of the banker. We
Yeah.
have Killer Croc is over here gonna be the guy that breaks into the bank. He's going straight in. We find out later Riddler's like the mastermind of everything. And Penguin, I believe, was the guy that got the security guard because he was like, oh, do you want to, spend some alone time with our dancer over here at the Iceberg Lounge?
Yeah.
So huge thing. I've always said I want to see a Batman heist movie, mainly Catwoman. So I like that Tom King is trying to give us some big heist thing here, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then we just essentially get a bunch of ins and outs of what everybody's doing throughout the whole thing, right? Like we see Selena teaching this wife, and she's like, "Oh yeah, what is this?" We have Selena Kyle with blonde hair, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. Riddler is going in and talking to the banker, and he's like, "Yes, yes, yes. I want to see this new thing," and blah blah blah. He's pretending to be a banker himself. And then Killer Croc, we just see him destroying shit. He's like, "I'm ready to fuck shit up," and I love that Tom King wrote the fucking security guard. He's like, "All right, hey man, just to make this really believable, like I don't want people to catch me, right?"
Like just kind of hit me, kind of knocked me out or
Yeah,
whatever. And then fucking Waylon just fucking smacks him
yeah,
across the
dude.
fucking room. And I'm like, dude, he's
Super
dead.
dies. He
He's
super
dead.
dies, which is hilarious. He like anime smacks him. He smacks him
Yes.
and he crashes against the wall. He's like a hole in the wall and shit. Like, yeah, he fucks him up. So I thought that was pretty awesome. When Selena's done training the lady in tennis, she comes out with her fucking whip and everything in the badass. Dude, I went and looked on Marquez's website to see if this was available to buy. Like I was all
It's
like,
so
I was like,
nice.
oh, I was like, I want it, but this will probably be like one of his $250 prints.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I don't know if our prints are on his website anymore, even though it says sold. Like they're not there.
Oh,
Which one did
really?
you buy? I could not find mine. I could not find mine on his website.
I need to go back to it. I bought the one with Batman at the computer with the
Yeah, but there's a
Bizarro
bunch.
Superman.
But is it the one that has like the red and yellow coloring on it? It's not that one, right? Because the panel that you have, he used twice in two separate books. He
What?
Yeah, but the other panel, if you go to his website after this, he has another one where it's the same kind of like the Batman like thinking face, and it has like red lines and yellow lines on it, which is kind of crazy. And I was like, that's not the one Clay bought. I'm pretty sure that's not the one he bought.
Hmm.
But I couldn't find the ones that we bought from him. Anyways, I believe he puts these on sale usually like 2 weeks or so after, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't see him working on anything new recently, so I'm curious if he does that anymore. But I would love to give me an artist proof of Catwoman, um, or anything from this book. There's actually some really good stuff in this book that I'd be down to get. But yeah, anyways, so essentially, there's not like a lot of meat to this book because it's essentially what we just said. Like it's all these people planning all this stuff, and they're trying to break into a super secure vault, and like they need to have all this stuff to get in there, and they get into it, and it's Vault 5, which is, yeah, they're like, we need clearance and we need to do all this stuff. And he's like, you'll get it. Don't worry. Like, blah, blah, blah. And they get into Vault 5. We see Selena picking up Riddler, and she's like, did you get it? And he's like, of course I got it. And then it's something that can fit in a box, something
Yeah.
very small. And they're like, oh, shit. And then we see, I think the Selena, no. Who's Waylon's wife, right? Or Waylon's girlfriend or something like that is like, don't spend, they drop off a big bag of money to him. They're like, don't spend anything until he gets out of prison or
And
whatever.
she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm the help." And he does the walk, 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 walk,
Yeah.
the penguin sound or whatever.
Yeah.
And she looks in the bag. She's like, "Oh, Waylon, you shouldn't have." So
Yeah.
I want to know what the fuck she's gonna do because
Yeah. I think
I
she's going
don't.
to
She's
definitely
gonna
dip.
dip. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we see Catwoman, Riddler, and Penguin meeting in a like I would just call this like Central Park or whatever, but it's for
Mhm.
Gotham. And Riddler beats the shit out of Penguin, dude. Like holy crap, with an umbrella because they were like, I thought we said no weapons, and he was all like, it's just an umbrella. And everybody knows, Penguin has a gun umbrella, so they're like, eh. And dude, Riddler beats the shit out of him. And
Yeah.
like you see his mouth with the teeth because it's that kind of penguin that's like eats fish for fun kind of shit. And at the very end, we get this 5 panel structure of Gordon with the bat symbol, and you're like, yeah, they broke into this facility. And Batman, we're seeing some dialogue here, and Batman's like, Jim, the vault they accessed, was it Vault 5? And Jim's like, yeah, I think it was the bank president said, yeah, Vault 5. How did you know that? Is there something in the vault I should know about? And Batman's gone, and he's like, oh fuck. What do you think it is?
I don't know. Because there's also this tease of like old time what seemed like
Oh, like the priestess kind of thing, and the like it was like Caesar's time, right? Like
yeah, it was it was
Romans.
it was 405 BC.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck could this be?
Do you think it's some kind of weapon? Here's the one thing I don't want it to be, because Batman knows what Vault 5 is. Did they just
Yes.
steal from Bruce Wayne, and is it something to do with his parents? I would be so mad if that's the story. It's just a keepsake for Bruce.
I don't want that.
Yeah, that would be so shit. Like you would hear me talk shit about Tom King, which is something I rarely do.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be that. I hope it is something a little bit more diabolical, but I mean, it's something small. Like I wonder what it could be. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't like a crazy amount of stuff. When I finished reading this book, I was like, well, damn. I was kind of expecting a little bit more, but this could just
Yeah.
be the startup issue. And again, I don't know if Tom King just thinks because it's 6 issues less, it's more jam packed. I like the
Mhm.
story, I like where it's
Yeah.
going, but I love Tom King's like in depth shit that really makes me think.
Yeah.
And that means by issue 5, we're probably going to get all the big shebang that he always does, like on issue 11. So I just hope this doesn't really ruin it. But like you said, it doesn't seem like he was telling the story like he normally does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm interested where the story's going because it is different. It's not all the lovey-dovey Batcat stuff. Will we see something like that? I'll be very interested because this is very early on. Tom King's already played with every era. Are we just gonna have a Catwoman that's constantly bad in this one?
I think I could see Bruce like trying to talk her down,
Yeah.
and she probably uses her, sexuality, her curves, if you will,
Mhm.
to get away
Yeah.
and to kind of like rustle him up or whatever.
Hmm.
But I don't think we would get any of like the hardcore romance stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect that because he's already. I mean, if we're lucky, they get married on the next issue. Which I don't think we have those books yet, right? Oh, actually, it just updated.
Nice.
Is Batcat? Because I will read this shit tonight. Human Target 6.
No fucking way.
I'm not shitting you. Human Target 6 on the 22nd of books.
Huh.
I thought it was gonna be withheld.
Maybe it's after 6 that's gonna be withheld.
Maybe that seems like a good stopping point for King usually.
Yeah.
I do not see Batcat at all in these next coming weeks. I see Catwoman 41, which we just read Catwoman last week. Is
Yeah.
it bi-weekly now?
I
That
have
would be really
no
weird
idea.
because I don't think we got Batcat next week. There's no Batcat for the rest of the month. So unless it comes out on the 29th, which I guess I could see it. But that's essentially everything. Now I'm looking in the spoiler chat right now. Drew has dropped a TikTok that says Batgirl set. And
Oh yeah. So
what is this? I haven't seen this.
the costume of Firefly has been revealed, not professionally, but there
Ah.
is set photos with him in costume.
Oh. Okay, I have not seen that. So is this what this video is probably? I'll have to check
Maybe.
it out after. I don't want to do it on stream because I don't want to throw the audio out there in case it is anything crazy.
Yeah.
But or on the podcast, I should say. But I'll have to check that out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is this week's podcast. Again, if you're listening to this podcast all the way through, we appreciate you. Definitely, we didn't do viewer questions this week, so if you have any questions about the Batman, let us know in Discord or let us know in the YouTube comment section of what you thought about it. Let us know if you have any questions about it, if you liked it, if you hated it, whatever. Because I believe Clay was saying that one of his friends was like, people are either going to love this movie or they're going to fucking hate it.
Yep.
Which I don't think I fucking hated it. I just thought it was boring.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I don't hate the movie. There's things I can appreciate about it, but yeah, I'm not a fan. But you know what? I feel like this is the same way of those people that love Star Wars and they hated The Last Jedi or whatever it was called.
Hmm.
Or was that what it's called? Not Last
Yeah.
Jedi. It
Yeah.
was, yeah. They hated that one. I enjoyed that movie though. So, there's just sometimes there are things you want to love and you end up not liking them. So it just happens. But yeah, Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So, if you want to hear some more talk of the Batman, by the time this is releasing on on the 4th at, I believe, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
Mhm.
I'm going to be doing a review over at the Geekverse YouTube channel. There's going to be a total of 2, 4, 5, maybe 6 of us
Man.
reviewing this movie. I can already feel that I'm probably going to be the minority of this
Oh,
movie.
really?
Yeah, I'm probably
Does
going to suck.
everybody on that podcast read comic books?
Um, yes, but not current comic books. They're just
Ah,
comic book fans, and they
gotcha.
read what they can get. Um, but a majority of them are Marvel fans and in between fans, and then one of them is just like a hardcore Batman fan
Yeah,
that loves the psychotic Batman. So we'll see how all of that goes.
yeah.
I also have an episode of Ranger Alliance. There has been some news on possibly a overall finale for the actual franchise now that it's moved on to,
Wow.
yeah. So I think that they're planning a finale for the entire franchise
Mhm.
because they're moving and rebooting the Power Rangers cinematic universe on
Yeah.
Netflix. So
Really?
I think they're doing like a small little finale series
So,
to
like,
end everything.
Saban's series it will end, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
But he's no longer he sold it, right?
yeah. He sold it. Hasbro has it now.
Hasbro? But does it say, like, Hasbro, like, Power Rangers Saban anymore, or they took Saban off it's off?
They took it off. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. I hope Netflix does right. Just give me the fucking regular costumes, man. I don't need those fucking weird ass Dino Morpher ones they have.
I think that if you can make Captain America's costume look realistic as
Mhm.
far as like what we got in World War II
Yeah.
compared to what we got in Avengers Endgame, I think you can make Power Rangers. Like I
I
think it can work.
I thought the ones in that short film that was R-rated were awesome. Like those
Yeah,
were fine, you know? Those are cosplay level, but they looked cool.
just give
But
it more budget and you're there.
yeah, this dude, yeah, whoever made the Batman suit, just have them make the fucking Power Ranger suits. Like they don't need to be dino morphine looking. Like that was so bad. That movie sucked in my opinion. I don't know what you thought about it. I thought it was terrible.
I thought that it could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
So I talked about that on my Ranger Alliance podcast. And then we talked a little bit about the new High Republic Star Wars show, which is essentially going to be Stranger Things with Star Wars over at Disney Plus. Over at
Oh,
my yeah, yeah,
what?
they're
How?
they're making a live action Star Wars show that has
Uh-huh.
been described as a Stranger Things type with Star Wars characters.
What?
Yeah,
That sounds odd.
it's going to be interesting for sure. But we
Yeah.
talked about that, and we're possibly going to be talking about fan castings over at Star Wars Alliance this week as well.
Yeah, to anybody that's listening to this, this may or may not be. I mean, if you dialed off, this sucks. You're gonna miss this. But did you see? And I want to know your thoughts on this. Joe Manganiello posted a Deathstroke photo again.
Did he
What do you?
really?
Yeah, but he made it look all like you know how when you used to try to watch the old porn stuff illegally back in the day, it would scramble the fucking shit. It looks like that, but it's Deathstroke. So there, you remember how we were you were throwing out the rumor that maybe James Gunn is doing Deathstroke? Do you think he would
Dude,
get Manganiello?
I would fucking hope so.
That would be crazy because you could still save Manganiello after Flash, right? Like he could still be a part of this,
Oh yeah.
but because he's a
Where
good
the,
actor, I think he's good.
where the fuck was
Um,
this photo?
it's not on there, dude. It was on CBR. Like literally, I posted it on CBR. Did he take it
Oh,
down?
hold on. Let me. I think he took it down.
Yeah, it was on CBR. CBR posted it. I saw it yesterday. I was going to ask you about it, but I completely forgot. But yeah, this was something that I saw that apparently Joe Manganiello posted a new photo on Instagram that it was Deathstroke. It was that Deathstroke with the mohawk that he posted, but it
Yeah.
was all scrambled and shit. And I was just like, oh, interesting. And so it was making Snyder fans go crazy. Apparently, they're like, oh, it might be coming back. Blah, blah, blah. So I just thought it was interesting to see if maybe James Gunn might be doing Deathstroke after all. But
I fucking hope so, dude. That would be
that's just
fucking
possible
awesome.
rumor. I mean, Manganiello could be trolling, but I just find it very interesting because he literally said he gave up hope. So
Yeah.
why would he post a photo again? But yeah, that's something to ponder, ladies and gentlemen. Because again, all I'm looking forward to is the DCEU, ladies and gentlemen. That's me, DCEU all the way. I might have wanted to get rebooted a long time ago, but all I care about is the DCEU. But yeah. Anyways, guys, go check out my YouTube channels if you guys want to see other content that is not comic book related, or come hang out in the live streams. I am going to have to ask one of my mods on my next 2 live streams to check out the chat for a while and make sure they just get rid of spoilers. So, because that might be something that happens. Luckily, I've already seen the movie, so they can't ruin it for me, but they can ruin it for my chat. So that'd be kind of sucky. But
Yeah.
anyways, that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome. Not necessarily the Batman, but Batman. Newsweek